They asked me if I needed someone to introduce myself, and I said, no, I can do that very well. This is Bill Jankins. I've been batting around here. I'm 79 years old and got about 60 years of it here in West Brookfield. Dan Hamilton is in the back. Dan is going to be recording this because if it comes out well enough, we'll throw it on one of those computer programs and you can look at it at home later. This all came about because the people that live in West Brookfield know that the corset factory on Pleasant Street that started its life as a corset factory has now been totally demolished and made to disappear. And I think we owe the man that owns that a good thank you, because for the last 50 years I expected to look out my bedroom window and see a big glow in the dark and see that burning. And if it ever did, it's so old and oil soaked, you'd probably lose 2 or 3 homes around it. And so he's stood up tall and he's got a few $100,000 in it and to make it disappear. And it's not ended, but hopefully there will not be a lot of further contamination. Okay, we got more seats here.
More seats.
Yeah, we have.
We're all curious about the old corset factory.
I don't know how the viewing is going to be from here. But anyway, when that disappeared, over the years I've accumulated a lot of facts about the corset industry in West Brookfield. And I'm going to ask Dan at this time to stop recording, because I want you ladies to all be very honest now and don't be embarrassed. But I want you ladies that are now wearing a lace-up corset with stays in it to please stand up. Okay, if you've worn in the last 10 years, stand up. Oh. God bless you. One person, though, is not going to support an industry where there are 300 women who are sewing corsets. So we now all know, we all know what happened to the corset business. It just became not a viable thing for when they could not market them. It all started with a fellow by the name of Charles Jackson, and he was a very enterprising man, and he started in Mechanics Hall in Worcester on the 2nd floor, but soon outgrew the capacity to employ more women there. So he moved to Boston, and that did not really work out any better. So for some unknown reason, he found this little spot on the universe called West Brookfield, and he started manufacturing corsets here. You'll see photos of that, his first building, in just a minute. But that was directly across the street in the parking lot of what is now Gavitt Wire, was the first corset factory in West Brookfield. In 1877, he sold his business to 2 fellows from New York that were just investors. And one of them soon lost his interest in it and sold his interest to Chauncey Olmsted. Well, Olmsted is the name that most people remember in West Brookfield as in the corset business. Prior to that, he was a civil engineer in the Midwest, and he started at 16 years old apprenticing as a coachmaker. So from a coachmaker, then he went to college, became a civil engineer, and his health was not so that he could go out and do engineering work in the field. So he came to West Brookfield, and he purchased, he'd been in ladies' garments, I think, selling hoop skirts or something for a little bit, but he came and purchased a half interest in the company. And at that time, they had 300 employees. And
I'm sorry for interrupting. There is a Mercury out in the parking lot. They're blocking somebody in. It's a tannish. Okay, they can just.
Shall we dance, Bill? Dance me right out of here?
Okay, and I'm sorry for
he had 300 employees over here working, and from all over, which we'll see a little bit later. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. I want to show you some of the photographs. This was his first building, a 2.5-story wooden frame building. And this is a shoe factory that was located next to it.
Is that where Brookfield Machine was? Is that the old Brookfield?
That is with a new extension of Brookfield Machine. That wasn't the building that Irving started in, because that disappeared in '85 in a fire. But you can see the ladies all dressed up. They're all sewing, running sewing machines and whatnot. This picture is circa 1868. Pretty fancy building there, too. So in addition to employing women and men in the corset business, he also had to employ carpenters to build the buildings and so forth. So it really brought a lot of business to West Brookfield. You saw the first building. If I'm in somebody's way, tell me. The first building ended there. We saw it. And this is an addition and a lot more employees. And I get a kick out of these old photographs because the guys get up and they climb up on the roof, hanging out the windows and standing on the roof. And these are the ladies that are employed right across the street here in West Brookfield, making corsets in 1873. Any questions at any time? Somebody wants to hold their hand up? Yes.
Yes, one of the previous pictures, it said that it was dangerous work. So they weren't making them by hand, but in what way was it dangerous?
Okay, and you'll see later on, but these women were sewing on the first and second floors here, and there was one giant steam engine in the back that turned a shaft that ran from the front of the building to the back of the building. And off that shaft, the ladies worked on a bench, and that shaft was spinning underneath.
It ran the sewing machines?
And there was a sewing machine on each place. Well, with that shaft spinning, we're going to get back to that later. But you'll see, because I'm going to talk about a lady that was caught in it. Yes, Barbara?
Were a lot of these ladies come out of town or all West Brookfield?
No. That leads to the same question this lady was having. The lady that we're going to talk about that was so severely injured caught one of her garments in the shaft. And those shafts were spinning at a high rate. And it nearly tore all her clothes off, and she was very severely injured. But that was the days before workman's comp, and she was back to work,
It said she was from Westfield.
and she was from Westfield,
My
Massachusetts.
mother was from Warren, so
Yeah,
they rode the trolley to get here.
there's a true example. They rode from Warren in the trolley to get here. But this woman was from Westfield. Now, familiar with West Brookfield? If you're looking at Country Bank straight on, the 2 or 3 buildings to the right housed many of these women. They came out and worked and lived in these homes and rented just a room for the day and by the week, and then they would go back to Westfield or wherever they were from. But that was because certainly this was an agricultural community. The ladies that were up on Ragged Hill were helping their husbands do chores and milking cows and doing what was necessary, patching their clothes and everything. These women all had to come in from other towns: Warren, North Brookfield, Ware, Brookfield, East Brookfield. They ended up running buses for them. Okay, these are the 2 factories that were right here. Charles Jackson, I really admire this guy. He started in Worcester, went to Boston, and then came here and got this big plant going. In 1873, he had other interests besides the manufacturing of corsets. He had a steamboat on the lake with a barge. And this is 1873, and this is a broadside, an advertisement that would be on a building. It wouldn't be on a telephone pole because there was no telephone poles, but it would be on a tree or so forth. And he's advertising pleasure parties for fishing or pleasure, any time of day or moonlit evenings at a small cost on the steamboat. And this steamboat was owned by the same guy that owned the corset factory. Application can be made to the owner, Charles Jackson, or to H.P. Gilbert, and Gilbert is a big name in West Brookfield. He's the engineer on the boat, and his residence is near the lake. Mr. Gilbert is an experienced and reliable engineer. So the people that live on the lake now and have these nice party barges and take out rides in the summer evenings, nothing new. 1873, they were doing it. Now, 1873 is only 1865 the Civil War ended. So kind of put that in perspective of what was happening around that at this time. Now, what did we miss here? Let's see if I miss. Yeah, we got to go back one more. Olmsted bought the factory here and ended up owning it by himself. In 1885, the factory was destroyed in January by a fire. Total destruction, everything was gone. As was the building that you asked about that was next to it. That building was destroyed. And Jackson had a Victorian home on the right side of his home, that factory. That was all destroyed. For some unknown reason, Olmsted went to Springfield to start manufacturing corsets. Well, there were a lot of women, maybe a few from Westfield that were close to Springfield, but the majority of them were close right in here around the proximity of West Brookfield. So in Springfield, he was having a tough time. Jackson had sold out, and he sold his steamboat to another man in West Brookfield that ran the condensed milk factory, and he ran the boat up and down the Quaboag River. But Jackson went to California, and he came back, and Blair, E.H. Blair, had just built the first commercial block right across the street from the town hall. And he had previously had been running a grocery store and market in the first floor of the town hall. But he moved across the street into his new block right across the street from the town hall. Well, that left a lot of vacant space in a building. Jackson came back from California, saw that space, went up to the selectmen and says, I'd like to lease that space to start a corset company. Well, sure. And the selectmen were glad to do it. He leased it for $100 a year for 3 years. Basement of the town hall. And Everett, you've seen many pictures of the employees in front of the town hall. I should have thrown one of those in here, but he's back, not interested in going back into the corset business, but he's interested in West Brookfield and getting these people back to work. So he calls up Olmsted, who's in Springfield, trying to get trained people. He says, I've got a deal for you. I've leased the town hall. You come here, and all the women are ready to work. And so they had to do some configuring to get all these machines running in the town hall, but they did. And so Olmsted took up Jackson and came back to the town hall. Well, that really wasn't a factory for mass producing anything, the first and second floors of the town hall in West Brookfield. So one night he went to a selectmen's meeting, Mr. Olmsted, and he said, I want to have a factory here, and I'd like the town to build it for me, and I will lease it for 10 years from you. Come on in, Elaine. But the selectmen knew that they could not be Katie, you can go over and have your seat while I'm... Oh, okay.
Thank you, and sorry, Bill.
Okay. The selectmen were not in the business of building factories for people, but 2 or 3 of the guys who were attending the selectmen said, here's a guy that will rent a factory if we build it for 10 years. He'll lease it. So in 1 week, they raised $10,000, and they started building a factory by the West Brookfield Builders Association. Now, John Conway was the contractor for this. He literally ran the West Brookfield Builders Association. What did they build? If you stand in Cottage Street and look down the left side of Cottage Street and on the right side of Cottage Street, he built every one of those homes. They were all cookie-cutter homes. They all looked just alike, but Conway built those. Conway also rebuilt the building that Blair had right across the street from the town hall. That was called the Conway Block for years. So John Conway was a builder who was doing a lot of contracting, everything. And in 8 months, he put up the factory, the first factory, down on Pleasant Street. And that was called the Quaboag Corset Factory. Now, when he was doing this, he was doing it for cheap dollars. He wanted to do it as inexpensively as he could. And he went and scavenged bricks from the old factory here and the chimney that were here in this building and used them down there. And I'm not a hoarder, but I'm practicing at it. So I had to go and talk to Mr. Nickerson and say, you know, I'd like to have and save some of the bricks that were in the factory that they're tearing down in Pleasant Street. Well, I knew that some of those bricks came from here originally. Well, Jeff Nickerson said, I can't let you in there because of insurance purposes. It's all been condemned and everything. He said, I'll pick up some bricks for you. He brought me up to the house, 10 bricks. 9 different brick companies, labels on the brick. So they came from, he scavenged bricks wherever. And Harold can attest this, one of them says West Brookfield on it. So it was manufactured at a brick factory in West Brookfield. There's B.B. Cole, Brimfield Brick Company, and all around the area, and several East Brookfield bricks and some West Brookfield bricks. And so they have been added to my collection of trash someday, I guess. But anyway, that was the first building that went up down there. Let's see what we got here. I'm going the wrong way. Why don't you remember which way I should go for me? Oh. Yeah. Come on. 1868, 1873. Okay, Lake Quaboag, the boat that Jackson had. This dapper-looking guy with bifocals. I looked at this picture and I said, look at that. He's got bifocals on in that year. That is Chauncey Olmsted. Pretty dapper-looking dude. Now, Chauncey Olmsted lost his first wife and remarried to a younger woman. And one of the things that he used to brag about was that he fathered his first son at age 70. Lockhart used to talk about that too. My dad was 70 years old when I was born. And but this is the guy. And okay. This is kind of interesting. Yeah, this is a corset. Corset especially designed for stout women, the top one. That doesn't look like anything a stout woman would be wearing, does
They
it?
brought in the middle.
They brought in the middle and pushed it up and down, I guess, huh? That's an 1877 catalog on the Worcester Corset Company.
How much were they?
Oh, $4. And if you took a extra large, it was 4 1/4. $4. That's the Worcester Corset Company. Worcester Corset and West Brookfield, they really had the industry cornered for the Northeast, and they made them all here. Interesting thing, they went from ivory stays to steel. American Steel and Wire, a company in Worcester, got its start in its infancy making the steel stays for the corset industry in Worcester Corset Company and the Corset Company in West Brookfield. And so, you know, one thing leads to another, and it's kind of interesting that American Steel and Wire had a small division just doing this, and they became a big national firm.
They didn't just slip them over their head, they had hooks down the front. My mother-in-law had one, my mother had one. You lace the back.
Oh, I was saying, I saw somewhere in doing this research that they were pulling cords together to...
That's in the back.
Oh.
The hooks are in the front. Metal hooks in the front.
Don't know about that. Lindsay, do you remember that? Pull it towards me, right? Okay. This building, I want to get out of everybody's sight. This building here was the first building that was built for $10,000. This is a water tower. Obviously, there's windows up, but the water is up to that area there. It's a big water tower pumped up there by Knowles Pumps. Knowles Pumps were made in Warren. It became Warren Steam Pump at a later date. Everett's, you're checking me, I hope. Yeah. But anyway, this is all part of it. And then you had another addition go here. And I don't think that's Mr. Olmsted, but it might be. This is an office area here. The stitching went on the first and second floors. Don't ask me why, but packing and everything else was on the third floor. I would think you'd work it the other way around, work your finished product so it'd be ready to ship out the door, but that's not the way it was, the stitching there. Now you see the windows, they were natural light, and they had kerosene lanterns inside for a long time, because this is before you had AC electricity in West Brookfield. Okay, we have the original building. This office building was built. Now you have a third building here, and now a fourth building. And in that building there, you can see right there, that's a horse standing in there. He was not a seamstress, he was a teamster. He daily went from bottom of Pleasant Street to right down here to the railroad, because the railroad came in 1838, and he was down there picking up raw materials, steel, whalebone, cloth, and so forth, carrying them up to the factory, and then carrying finished product down to be shipped right out from the railroad station here in West Brookfield. Neat story, huh? The first teamster in West Brookfield, right there. Come on. 'Cause you're supposed to have to.
Hands must be cold.
Okay. Now, the horse was standing right there, right? And look what they've done to the factory now. Big addition out back. That is the expansion kept growing and growing. To 1915, Mr. Olmsted died at 86 years old. His son, that was born when he was 70, was only 16, so he couldn't take over the business. Otto Olmsted, who, after all the research I've done, I cannot find out. He's obviously a nephew and has been in the business, and Otto took over the business. Well, this was financed by John Shackley and Chesson, and another name, it'll come to me in a minute. They were the financiers, and they were officers in the company. Olmsted was president, Shackley was clerk, and Chesson was accountant and so forth. After Otto took over for his uncle when Chauncey died, those three guys said, bye-bye, no severance pay, you're gone. Well, Shackley had been an investor in many businesses here, shoe business and this and that. They went to Holyoke, and Chesson and that crew went to Holyoke, and they manufactured corsets in Holyoke. Now, I never knew that Chesson was in the corset business. Did you, Elaine? Lindsay, did you know Chesson? Yeah, you knew. Okay, you knew he was in the corset business. I did not know that, but
That's
I'm sorry?
A-Trade Chesson you're talking about? The one that was our town clerk?
His father.
His father.
His father was the Chesson that was talking, but and they worked in Holyoke up until World War II, doing not just corsets, but different sewing, different items and so forth up there. But in 1942, they stopped that. But this is basically the building that was just recently torn down. And hopefully someday we'll have a new use for that land there. Okay, this is the site down there where we are on Pleasant Street. In 1893, it's when they started building the first building, and they bought that land from Lucy and Charles Smith. Now, the Builders Association bought it in 1893, and I said they had a 10-year lease. So 1893 to 1905, the lease didn't start till the building was complete and so forth. So that's the 10-year period that the West Brookfield Builders Association owned the building and leased it out to the Corset Company. 1905, Olmsted, Quaboag Corset Company, bought it from the Builders Association, and they stayed there. As I said, Chauncey died in 1916, and these guys left or were forced out. But it kind of just dwindled because Otto moved to Springfield. I don't know what the fascination was in Springfield, but he took the corset business back to Springfield again, and there it finally ceased. But when that happened, it was the first time in 64 years, I believe it is, that there was no corset manufacturing in West Brookfield. And it literally put out of work 300 people down there. So that was a devastating blow to the economy in West Brookfield. 1924, Weldon Wire of Worcester leased the building, or purchased the building. I'm sorry, they didn't lease it, they purchased the building. They had it until 1929, and you all know what happened in 1929. It was the crash of the Great Depression, and that ended Weldon Wire. Now, Seneca Wire, and they were Seneca Wires from New York, I believe, a New York firm. The building was being used for manufacturing and drawing of wire, so they purchased it in 1929 and ran it as not in mediocre. It didn't really have flourish, but it went along pretty well until 1936, and then the production of the wire ceased there from Seneca Wire. 1938 to 1942, this is not wire, Caramel Incorporated bought the building. And Everett, do you remember the man's name?
Henry Burnett.
Henry Burnett?
Henry Burnett and Dr. Rogers, and they lived in where Dr. Cahill lives now.
Okay. Henry Burnett lived where Tom Cahill lives now on North Main Street. They came up with, they were experimenting with dehydrated foods and so forth for the war, in as much as the war wasn't going on in 38, but there was a building up, and we recognized what was going to happen. And they were getting interested in dehydrated foods, and carrots had some value or nutritional value, and so they were trying to make a product, and they called it Caramel. Now, Mr. Allen tells me that at one time they gave away T-shirts, and they had a carrot from here to here. Too bad we don't have one of those T-shirts now. But what happened how do I describe it? It's behind Jack Cregan's insurance office, and not everybody's going to know where that is. Under North Main Street, as you go up about the fourth house up, there's a small office there. And behind it is a big open field, which is the back of houses on Cottage Street, and it goes all the way down to Lake Street. How many acres, Lindsay?
I don't know, 2 or 3.
Oh, a good 2 or 3 acres. When this started up, they planted that field for carrots one summer. And other farmers, too, were raising carrots for this endeavor here, Caramel Incorporated. Well, if carrots don't work, we'll go back and do wire again. And this is the Spencer Wire Company. And I can remember a large neon sign on top of the building said Spencer, I thought it said Wick Wire. Everett, what did that say, Wick Wire or Spencer Wire Company? But anyway, they were in there from 42 to 56. And that was from the Spencer Wire Company, and you might have heard of Wire Village in Spencer. That was someone of the Spencer Company that came up here and operated in this mill. Now, just a week ago, I was a friend of mine found on eBay and gave it to me, a package of wire made in West Brookfield at Spencer Wire Company, and it was recording wire. It was brand new, never been opened and everything else. So that's another one of my hoarding items I have up there. They closed in 56, and Lionel Greasy, depends whether you had money or not. If he had money, he was Grisey, and when he was looking for money, he was Greasy. But he owned it from 56 to 72, and he leased it out for different things. They called it an egg factory for a while, but I know he did bring in and redo grain sacks and so forth in there, but no real industry that I know of at that point. Grise sold it to Tony Caprara, who was Milton Fountain's attorney. And Milton Fountain has probably had his fingers on so many different pieces of property in West Brookfield at different times, but he had that factory down there, and he leased it out. And probably the biggest thing that came out of there was Ray Heck and his partner. Ray Heck was working at Rathbone in Palmer, and they would draw wire into various shapes for gears, little tiny watch gears and so forth. Draw wire through dies, and it would form a different thing. They did shotgun sights, they did gears for watches and so forth, and the wire would be this way, and then they would slice it up and make little gears out of it. That was Ray Heck operated there for about 10 years.
I worked there at that time with
You worked there? Roger Mundell.
Roger.
I couldn't think of it. Ray Heck and Roger Mundell started that factory. And what were you drawing wire for?
Well, it was mostly the little gears, like you said, and the ribs for the shotguns and just the stuff you said.
Okay, ventilated ribs.
Miniature gears.
Yeah, the little tiny gears that would go in a watch were done down there. And then Ray Heck purchased the former yeast factory down here because that was unoccupied and moved the entire operation down there. And it was quite a successful company. And Ray and Jackie liked to play, and Ray liked to fly planes, and he purchased a high-end, what was it, Lindsay?
It was Piper,
Piper, but it was
Saratoga. It was a twin engine job, wasn't it? No,
single,
it was a twin. No.
but it had automatic controls.
Oh, yeah.
But coming back, he went down to visit his good friend Croc down in Bimini, and on his way back, coming back with a plane, he'd never even made one payment. The check for the first payment was lying on his desk, and he and Jackie crashed and were killed in North or South Carolina. But Ray Mundell continued on, or Roger did, and the plant now is over there now, Precision Shapes, and it's quite a successful plant. Jerry Fountain bought it, got it somehow from his father, and he could not find any suitable tenant for it. And the building was deteriorating rapidly at that point because it just had no maintenance. Nobody wanted to sink any money into it because there was no viable industry that was going to there. And people who have worked there told me that they would be hauling a skid of wire across and it would go through the floor, and they would just buy another steel plate and put it down on the floor. So the building was in poor condition and almost beyond repair. And Jerry Fountain, in 1985, sold it to Saturn Realty Trust. Saturn Realty Trust is owned by David Nickerson, and it has nothing to do outside of that. David Nickerson also owns a large portion of the factory over here, but they're not connected. They did lease space, Saturn Realty Trust, to CBI, Concrete Block Insulation Company, and they used it for storage. But basically, they are not connected. So David owns Saturn Realty Trust, and he's the one that's paying the money to everybody to make it disappear. This is a 1910 photo of Quaboag Corset Company. This was 1910 was what, the 250th anniversary of the Quaboag plantation, and this photo was taken for it. You can see here all the women. You wonder why they didn't catch their clothing, because look at the skirts on them. That might have been because this picture was staged, but they all have their hair up. Nobody has long hair.
It's going to be in that one,
Is that right?
I'm sure.
And the young boys here, child labor laws, they worked up in the shipping room. They made boxes for shipping, corsets, and so forth. But that's a nice photo there of the group. The next one, I think, is I'm going to show you. Olmsted was considered a very nice employer. You saw a picture, I had a photo of him. That's him up there in the corner again. That's Chauncey Olmsted up there. This was a picnic he was having, and the ladies all got well dressed and everything for the picnic, as you can see. And that is 1911, the year after. And of course, in 1915, the demise of it started. But that's just some of the ladies that went to a picnic. Olmsted was considered a well-liked employer by all his employees. They all really thought very highly of him and would do anything for him. He had picnics for him. When he started, even when movies came out, very early, he tried to have entertainment with movies, but he did everything. He had a team of horses that would go to Warren and pick up employees in Warren. This was in the early years, before there was a trolley running. North Brookfield, and he bought a white bus. And Palmer Carroll, who was the owner of Carroll Motor Sales at one point, drove the bus around to pick up employees, and then the town hired the bus afterwards to get everybody to work to pick up kids and take them to school. So that's just a little sidelight to the people that knew Palmer Carroll. He was a bus driver there for a while. And then he sold that his bus to Palmer Motor Coach, and they continued to use it for his benefit. But that was the end of Palmer Motor Coach. Okay, we've heard a lot of Bill talking. Does anybody have any questions, or you want to expand on anything here, or anything going on?
Bill, you've done so well, you must have been there.
Where do you get all your research, Bill? Off the internet?
A lot of this, and you find conflicting ideas. Newspaper reporters are not accurate today. They weren't.
Fake news?
They weren't really accurate then either, because the demise when Otto took it over. One newspaper has it in 1922. Well, that was long. It had long happened before 1922, but they were recapping some things and said it happened. But it really happened in 1916. So those were I get them out of newspapers, and the Brookfield Library had a large collection of local newspapers, Spencer Leader, Brookfield, whatever, and so they sent them away and had them all digitized, and they're now on a hard disk. And it's so neat. You can put that disk into your computer and say, search corsets, and that computer will go, and everywhere the word corset is, it picks it up, and then it gives you a list afterwards. 1896, page such and such. So then it lists them, and then you can go look at the article. So that research is good. Jeff Fisk did a lot of research. I have some good friends, and one of them is sitting in the back, Everett Allen. Everett, stand up. Can you stand up? Everett has given me many, many things. Everett is a World War II prisoner of war, for those that did not know that. But he has a vast collection. His mother saved, and Everett has been so generous to share everything that he has with me, and I treasure it all, and I will forever keep it all together so that it'll go down somewhere in West Brookfield, because Bob, you had a postcard there.
Yes, I'll pass it around and I can give it to you. How's that?
That postcard, nice card. And I'm just telling you, someone asked where I get history. I have over 600 postcards of West Brookfield alone.
You were gonna show us a picture of inside the corset shop, the machinery.
Oh, no, I don't have that. I've just had that.
You
No.
don't have any of that, huh?
Bill, what did North Brookfield do? They make overalls, coveralls, White owned it. Did Bates get involved with Worcester Corset? Does that ring a bell?
He could have. I cannot affirm that one way or another, to my knowledge. They also made corsets, dungarees, and overalls, and here in West Brookfield, for slippers, and this little area here used to be quite an industrial area. It made fish rods right across the street. For about 10 years, it was Standard Rod and Reel Company. It did slippers. They had manufactured dungarees, overalls, backpacks, sporting goods for back. So this little area here was probably the most prominent industrial area in our little town here of West Brookfield. Bar.
Your England shop was a toy factory at one time.
Toy factory was a yeast factory?
Oh, it was the yeast factory?
Yes.
Somebody told me that before he moved in, it was like they made toys.
They might have for a short while, but Alice J. worked at a toy factory that was in the building former to the yeast factory over there. I did know the name of the company. It slips my mind.
Tiny Toy.
I'm sorry?
Tiny Toy. Was called Tiny Toy Company.
Tiny?
I think so. Johnny's father worked at it, in it.
Okay. Was that the
I
one
didn't know
over?
where it was located.
Yeah.
I knew it was down this end somewhere.
Yeah.
It was over here.
Well,
Father worked here,
I'm sorry?
making toys.
Okay. I do know that it was at one point over there, and I know they did everything here, so I would accept that as gospel too, that they made toys over here.
Did Chauncey Olmsted build the Olmsted house next to the library?
He didn't build it.
In there?
He purchased it, but he did all the additions on it. Do you know? Everybody know where the Olmsted home is? In West.
Where the dentist is.
Yeah, it's where the dentist. It's the house adjacent to the library to the left if you're looking at the library, which was originally a 2-4 9-window colonial with a gable on both ends, and then it got Victorianized by Olmsted. And I said Olmsted only had one son, but he had 2 stepdaughters. One of them ended up in France and then came back to West Brookfield years later and lived there. And but Lockhart Olmsted, his son, I don't know what he ever did. I know he worked for Chesson for a while over at Gavitt Wire, right?
He had jukeboxes.
Oh, he leased out jukeboxes?
Yeah, he had a route that he went around.
Okay.
He was a stamp collector too. I saw the stamps.
Oh, did you?
He was a war hero in the First World War.
In the First World War, Chauncey Olmsted went to see his stepsister in France, and he was 16 years old. And when he got over there, this was before the United States had joined in the war, he got over there and he signed on to the American Ambulance Company. And he drove ambulance along the battlefields in France before the United States entered the war. And he was decorated in France for this. But when the United States entered the war, they took over, the Army took over that ambulance corps, and Lockhart was only 16 years old. And so, inasmuch as he'd done a lot of work and very well decorated in France, he was only 16 and could not become part of the United States Army. Anything else?
What are they building over there now, do you know? They tore it down. I just noticed it.
Oh, we don't know what's going to happen to it. Some of it is brownfield. Contamination appears to be minor. Hopefully it will stay in that because they will, up to this point, they have not found any soil contamination beneath 4 feet. And that is good because they can excavate it all and take it away, and some other town will be. I'm sorry?
That's all swampland.
There's a lot of wetland there.
It must have got into that.
They have tested all around it. I think on the surface it did, but in floods and so forth, the surface contamination's gone away, and hopefully it's not a lot, because this is being financed by an individual, and all this destruction of the building and taking it away. And if you people that knew it as a gray shingled building, and luckily those had no asphalt in them. If those gray shingles that covered the outside had asphalt in them, I mean, not asphalt, asbestos in them, it would have been $500,000 to just make the asbestos disappear. The only asbestos they found was in the tile in the office floors, and someone came in and for $16,000 made the tile on 2 floors disappear.
How about machinery? Where's any machinery left behind?
I'm sorry?
Machinery?
Machinery, there's been basically no machinery in that building since Spencer Wire sold out in the 50s. No, a little downstairs where Ray and Roger were, there was drawing wire, right? And that was...
Yeah, we were only in the cellar.
You were in the basement, yeah. Anything else? Yeah. It was spoken and written down that I was going to talk about the lake, and I was going to talk about the strangest farm in Massachusetts. And the strangest farm in Massachusetts was on what we now know as, come on, Lindsay, help me. I'm having a moment. Foster Hill. Yeah. Foster Hill, there was a C.D. Richardson had a game farm up there and raised buffalo, deer, and elk up there. And I have photographs of one photograph with 14 buffalo up there. And he shipped them all over the country. He raised this buffalo wasn't raised for meat, it was raised for zoos and parks and so forth. And he shipped live buffalo all over. And he shipped Will Early, a friend that was in West Brookfield here, was in Alaska on a fishing trip. And he was sitting down one night having cocktails or whatever, talking with the other guys on this fishing trip in this fishing lodge. And the guy says to him, he said, "Where are you from?" He says, to ask Will. And Will said, "A little small town in Massachusetts." He says, "I asked you, where are you from? Where?" He said, "Well, you wouldn't know it anyway. It's a small town between Springfield and Worcester." The guy insisted. He said, "Where?" He said, "Well, I'm from West Brookfield, Mass." Now, this guy's from New Zealand, and he's up in Alaska fishing. He says, "I know West Brookfield, Massachusetts." "You do?" He says, "Yes, a bull elk was shipped from Richardson's farm to New Zealand, and it was the start of a elk herd in New Zealand."
Not only Elsie the cow, but
I'm sorry? This small little town like this, how would a guy in New Zealand know a West Brookfield, you know? Anytime I'm traveling and I say, that people ask me the question, you know what they know? "Oh, I know that. Howard's is there." So we're known as the home of Howards.
What year did he raise the wildlife up there on the hill?
What year were the...
What year was Richardson raising the
Okay, that started in the early, right after 1910.
Oh, okay.
And it went right up until 1938. There was three buffalo left in 1938, and the hurricane came and blew the fences down, and the last buffalo had to be done away with because they were running around wild and raising hell with the cattle on the dairy farms. In the lake, that's a long story too, but to me, I am amazed that a man had a steamboat on that lake in 1873. You know, that's 8 years after the Civil War, and but there were no cottages on the lake then or anything, but you could go for a steamboat. And I do have another article that I picked out of one of these discs of a woman when this same boat was on the Quaboag River in 1881. She was evidently a home health worker, this lady, and she was getting out of that business and had to go away to recuperate somewhere, but she had all her friends that she'd known, and she had invited 30 ladies, and they went down to the Quaboag River in 1880 and got a ride, a moonlight ride from the bottom of the Quaboag here in West Brookfield, all the way up to Quaboag into South Pond and back. And she wrote about it, and all the women were so thrilled. These were all her friends that rode on a steamboat that evening.
Early in the season, because there isn't enough water.
Well, of course, that river's been changed a lot now, and but that boat had it was a sidewinder, so it only drew 14 inches of water, and the people were riding in a raft that was only probably drew a foot of water too, because there's a big flat raft, and of course it had a cover over it and seats and everything, but and he could drop his stack down to get underneath the bridges. So that's part of that.
I'm going to give you this.
Well, thank you, Bob. Thank you very much.
Posterity.
Thank you. Anything else? Bill's talked out. Thank you very much. I enjoyed it. I enjoy talking and doing these things, and hopefully you had a
You'll have to do more of them.
had a good afternoon.